LIR.com, 927LIR.com, and YouTube. I am John Kalaboukas, the Bouk, with my friend Paul Zubulake, Zoobie. So I know that we generally don't want to start off with an Aaron Rodgers story, but I finally got the book. The librarians did not hold me to that rant last week, so I actually have it in my possession. And
Okay,
I'm up to
so
page 50. It's actually a very intriguing book. I'm up to the time where he went to college. So that's where
okay.
I'm up to right now.
Yeah, no, I saw one interview with Rogers, and he did mention that he thought that O'Connor did a lot of research, and he appreciated that. He didn't know the content of the book, of course, but he did speak with them. So yeah, no, the guy's he's actually had an interesting career and now life, and obviously you got the Hollywood angles in there, and just where we are as a country right now in 2024, where the more things are coming out on a daily basis, John, people like Aaron Rodgers are just going to get more credibility rather than less. As sad as it is to say,
Yeah.
non-sports, but it must be said, as you said last week.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing is Ian O'Connor in the beginning of the book uh, explained how he approached Aaron Rodgers because it's considered an unauthorized book.
Correct. Yeah.
So, but he went to Aaron Rodgers. He actually presented the facts, many things that he gathered speaking to people. And Aaron Rodgers says, you know what? You're giving the facts. It's okay. I'm good with it. He actually went to Malibu to meet him. And he was
Right.
describing his house in Malibu and everything else. So uh, even though it's unauthorized, it's almost authorized because, like I said, he presented everything to Aaron. And Aaron says, that's accurate. That's accurate. And a lot of it is about the beginning of the family relationships, how he grew up with his brothers and his dad and his mom. It's interesting stuff. It really is. And he was a very bright student who, they even mentioned he had a 1310 on his SATs. I said, all right, that's pretty good.
Yeah, sure. He's definitely a smart guy, but he went to junior college, so that'll be
That's
interesting
correct. Yep.
from a sports perspective. So it wasn't academic. He was kind of probably tall and skinny, or he's not even that tall, right? Ultimately, Rogers is only
He
about 6'2".
went, yeah, no, it was funny is that when he first started going out for the JV teams, he didn't, he had size 13 feet when he was 5'4". And they said he had very large hands. So they said he was just totally out of proportion, but he had a gun for an arm. Everyone underestimated him, and he started growing. But I think he didn't even make 6 feet tall by the time he got out of high school. So he was still
Yeah.
growing.
That's why he didn't get recruited. Yeah, ultimately,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
So
That's
you
right.
don't have the measurables. Even back then, they don't want to look at you. And he went to junior college and then went to Cal Berkeley, and not obviously a football power, but some great players have been there, played there. So that's good. So yeah, next week. Well, maybe not next week, because next week is our NFL preview show, which we should mention. We hope everybody tunes in. We're going to actually be taping on Wednesday next week, unlike today, Tuesday, John, which the 27th, which is NFL Cutdown Day, which is a lot different than it used to be, where you're literally going from 95 players to 53 in one day. So there are a lot of guys out there. The Jets have made their decisions for now. They kind of have like a lopsided balance of players: 10 defensive linemen, 10 offensive linemen, only 2 tight ends. So obviously they are not done. They will add a tight end, I would think, without a doubt. But just some minor back of the roster moves for them. And unfortunately, Hassan Reddick looks like he's going to play the same game that Chris Jones from the Chiefs played last year, where he did miss the first game. Kansas City struggled, if I remember, and the next thing you know, Chris Jones was signed that week. So Hassan Reddick betting that the Jets are going. Maybe he watched the show, John. He's heard me talking about them laying an egg potentially opening day. So it looks like no Hassan Reddick for game one unless something really changes in the next couple of days.
And your man Coddington got traded to the Bills.
That was, I mentioned him last week.
Yes, you did.
Gets traded for our favorite trade, the NFL 6-7 pick swap, this one in 2026, where Joe Douglas could be an assistant GM somewhere if things don't get turned around this year. But I want to actually have a positive spin now and again, I'm not saying that the Jets won't lay an egg because, again, I won't be surprised. But their opponent, week one, the San Francisco 49ers, have their own issues. And with Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk maybe joining Hassan Reddick and not playing week one, same situation, every day matters, that is a reason to feel optimistic as a Jet fan. And taking note of Las Vegas, which I didn't even know what the spread was, John. So do you know what the line is for the Jet 49er game?
I have no idea.
All right, so I'm going to put it on you right now. What do you think it is? What do you think it is?
I'm going to say 7.
Okay, so that would be something, I don't know, I would definitely not go that high, but something like 5.5, 6, I probably would have ended on. 3.5.
Wow.
So that is a neutral field pick'em game.
Wow.
So Vegas is a believer. Also, like I said, McCaffrey has an injury too. Will those guys play? So I think that's that 2 to 3 point differential there. So this
interesting.
that is definitely interesting, right, John? So again, we still have
cross our fingers.
We have this dead period because the NFL, since they went to 3 preseason games, instead of just starting later, they ended like starting at the same time and then create this like 2-week off period where teams are obviously preparing, but just not obviously in pads in a training camp mode. I mean, they probably still doing some pad work before the game. They have to. They can't go 2 weeks without being in pads. Yeah. But it's going to be interesting because I did see one of the beat writers, I think it was Samini, threw out an interesting stat. Out of, I think it was the last 3 seasons, 29 quarterbacks did not play in the preseason. And the record, I believe, was 12-17 for those quarterbacks who did not play. I believe that's accurate. Wow. So we are in that bucket, and the Kansas City Chiefs are not.
Wow. Well, did you see your man Mims got cut again? That's your favorite receiver there. Yeah.
My favorite receiver. Well,
26 years old only. And what is this, like his 4th team he's been cut by now?
Yes. No, it will be 3. Yeah, the Jets, Steelers, Jaguars. He will be in the UFL next year, John. So, hey, what can I tell you? I
liked him. And I liked him.
Crazy.
I liked him. I mean, I don't really think he was given a chance with the Jets. I thought he had talent.
John, it's a little bit in between the ears with him. His rep at Baylor that's the connection, folks. I saw him play 3 seasons there. He supposedly needed a kick in the butt sometimes, kind of got that rep early with the Jets, kind of fell on the wrong side of the coaching staff, just couldn't do it. But, hey, the proof's in the pudding, John. You get cut by 2 more teams. So injuries throughout the year, guys like him can still get picked up, but he's just, it's going to be another 2nd-round bust at wide receiver for the New York Jets, where there's a litany of them over the last, 3 or 4 decades. But let's be optimistic, John. They 3 undrafted defensive linemen made the squad. Now, one of those definitely made it because Reddick is not taking up a spot. But 2 of them, Taylor and McGregor, probably would have made it. And then the 3rd guy, Watts, actually from UConn, a little tri-state area flavor there. McGregor went to Michigan. and Taylor went to Miami, and those guys were supposedly going to be draftable players. They didn't get drafted. They looked good in the preseason. Hey, good for the Jets, as I always
Yeah.
say, right? I always like those undrafted free agents. They actually got a pick for Cogrington. He might become a really good return guy, and the Jets, again, it's a mystery. And I guess the other not big story, this is back of the roster stuff, is, Izzy Abanikanda did make the squad
Yeah.
as a fourth running back. He's just gonna be inactive every week, but he made it.
Yeah. 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 No, and it was funny. The past, I would say, week, they were talking about him making the team, and I'm like, okay, again, we've seen him a little bit in action. He's a solid guy. I mean, I didn't think,
Hey, he's got
you
talent,
know,
John. I
he's
was
got a
shaking
lot
my
of
head. Why
talent.
did you draft two running backs when you only needed one? And
Yeah.
they went for two, and Isaiah Davis is the second guy with Braylon Allen, who looks great. Davis might, again, he could be inactive too. I think Izzy will be inactive. But there's still more to come here because they definitely need a tight end. So that, his spot is tenuous at best. Could be one of these deals you hold on to him, let the other teams kind of like fill their rosters up, so it's harder for them. Because if they cut him, someone would have to put him on the 53 if they claimed him. In theory, he could go to another team's practice squad, is he? So John, when your biggest problems are talking about the eighth defensive lineman or the fourth running back, it's not about them. It's about Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall and Aaron
Yeah.
Rodgers and the
Yeah.
line, right? And we do think the defense should be solid. We're definitely worried about pass rush. So going to find out week one. And I also saw the under overs. We won't make our calls this week. We'll save that for next week. 10.5, John. 10.5.
10.5. Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
What did we'll talk to Father K next week. By the way, we're going to have Father K as our guest, which is always enlightening, and we love hearing his Dolphin stories. What do they have the Dolphins at?
I don't know. I literally just saw
Okay.
the Jets numbers. I
Oh,
didn't see
okay.
anybody's else's. We'll
I'd
definitely
be
do that next week. So, John, make sure you tell him that he's got to pick his playoff teams in the AFC and the NFC. We'll
Oh,
do that
yes,
again.
yes.
It's last year we actually did pretty well, but we'll see how we do this year and any surprises. So I always like to get one team up who's everybody thinks is going to be really good and predict that they won't be. Let's see if I get as lucky as last year. It'll be very, very interesting. On the
I was
Giants
very
side,
close. I was very close with the Lions last year. Very,
yeah, the
very
Lions
close.
you liked. You didn't pick them, but you liked. No, you did pick them. I think you picked them to
Yeah,
make the playoffs.
I did.
But
I
yeah,
did.
I remember joking with you. I was like, John, they're actually favored to win the division. But
Yeah.
they will, and it's interesting because the Bears are everybody's hot shots, and I want to mention the Giants.
Yes.
That they cut Allen Robinson, receiver, a veteran guy they brought in.
Yeah.
Isaiah Hodgkins, I think was another receiver.
DeVito made it. DeVito made the team.
Yeah,
Third, third
he's the third
quarterback.
stringer. They want to keep three. They not, they're worried about Daniel Jones. Teams that are not worried about that, they're not keeping three quarterbacks. The Jets obviously are going with two. The Giants, it's just they got huge issues on the offensive line again, and that's going to be the key. You got to protect
He's
your
going to get
quarterback.
killed. He's going to get killed again.
And do they have a running game without Saquon? Will Devin Singletary be able to pick up the slack? Their D should be pretty good. They took some hits in the secondary, but their front seven is really good on paper. So, it's time to prove everybody wrong. If I had to guess the Giants' numbers, I would think they're probably around 7.5, something like that, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
So I don't expect a huge amount from them. A big year for Brian Daboll. We've talked about that a lot. He doesn't necessarily have to go deep in the playoffs, of course, but he needs to have a good season. I don't think they can have another crummy season. I don't know if he's going to survive a crummy season.
Yeah, but you just brought it up. The main thing here is protecting Daniel Jones. I mean, if they keep getting through, I mean, he was getting killed, absolutely killed last year. So I don't know.
Well,
I don't know, and I don't know why they didn't really address it. That's the worst thing is why didn't they
Well, they
really
made
address it?
some moves. Yeah, they brought Runyon in at guard. They hoped that Evan Neal would bounce back. I mean, John, the guy was a top 10 pick. He's been up. He's coming off injury, not looking great. They lost a little of their depth. Guys left for free agency. Pert left. But we'll see. We'll see. That's what it's all about, John. These preseason is literally meaningless now. It's just like college football where there is no idea who's going to be really good. I mean, in college football, you know that certain teams are going to be good because they're always good, but nobody's done anything on the field, right? Nothing really was shown. Some teams obviously have played players, others haven't. And the Jets are rolling the dice that they, like I said last week, they didn't even play their second string guys. I mean, they
That's
were
true.
literally playing I didn't even watch the game, John. I can't tell you the last time I blew off the last preseason game completely. Now, again, when they had four, they were not playing the starters at all, but at least the starters were playing game 3. So the point is that it's gotten so absurd. What do I need to see third stringers against third stringers? I mean, the Jets had, 8 sacks in that game?
I think, what did they have, like 3 in a row or something like that? It was.
I mean, those guys who I mentioned earlier, they went off and they made their teams by those performances. So it's good. Again, it's just for these, the roster guys, bubble guys, the last 4 to 5 guys on the roster. And then I guess the other part, with the Jets quickly is Greg Zuerlein duck hooked a couple of kicks, which is kind of funny. Why is he kicking then? I mean, he's a starter. Why is he kicking?
That's all you need. That's all you need is for him to pull a muscle or a groin or something, and then he starts hooking his kicks all year. We don't need that.
And the kid,
kickers are very sensitive.
Well, right, and they have the guy Siebert who actually kicked great in the preseason, who's kicked in the NFL, but he's definitely going to get signed by somebody because that's just the way the NFL works with kickers. They do go all over the place. That's again, we're going to get much deeper into the season next week because, again, folks, we got a lot of time. But quickly, I just want to thank everybody for coming back and watching the show on YouTube.com, on Spotify.com, listening in. I know people still like to, work out and listen to us, which is fantastic. And, of course, the world famous LIR.com, 92.7 LIR.com. So we really appreciate everybody watching and listening. Please, Spotify, give us a 5-star review. Favorite the episodes, and YouTube, please like the episodes. It drives the algorithm. We are a word of mouth show, right, John? And if some people are out there who don't even know who we are and they stumble into us and you like the content, please tell your friends.
Yeah, and hopefully very soon we will have some surprise guests, and we will let the world know when we get these surprise guests.
Okay, the world via the world famous LIR, of
That's
course, right,
correct.
John? So
That's correct.
I don't know if the world is going to be paying attention to Bouk and Zoobie, but you never know. You never know, John. We're always, we have a good time. We talk the tri-state area. People first time watching us, right? We're tri-state area, local teams, and the big sports stories of the week. That's what we focus on. And then, we root for the Jets and the Mets and the Knicks and the Rangers. Those are our teams, but we'll talk about them all, John. We'll talk about them all.
Yeah, and there's actually one thing in the NFL. I don't know if you saw that Lamb finally signed contract. 4 years, $136 million, $38 million signing bonus, $100 million guarantee. That's some contract. He waited long enough. He got his numbers.
Right. Yep.
Those are big numbers.
Yeah, and guys like Brandon Ayuk think they deserve those numbers, and only a top 10 guys in the league are going to get paid like that. So, quarterbacks and receivers getting paid. But there was also, Kansas City signed their center, Creed Humphrey, to a big extension. There's been some other offensive linemen who signed big extensions this offseason. People are getting paid, John. NFL's making a ton of money. It's the players get an automatic piece of the revenue. Hey, good for them. I never begrudge athletes making money. I just
Mm,
I never like hey, if that's what the market will bear, John, that's what it will bear, right?
that's right. And and their careers are so short. Why
Right.
not take it? If it lasts 3 years and you could get $40 million, do it. You know, why would you begrudge someone for getting money? If
Right.
right, you earned it. Someone's willing to pay you. There's no problem with that.
Not at all. Not at
No
all. Yeah, so
problem.
good for him. I thought you were going to bring up Zach Wilson's big performance. I'm so it's like so embarrassing. People are
I was going to
raving,
bring up Zach Wilson,
but
but I like, nah, I don't know
but
if
it's
we
so
want to hear
funny,
his.
John. Nothing against Zach, but he's basically a backup to Bo Nix. And let's face it, if Zach Wilson was any good, Peyton would start him to protect Bo Nix. I know Peyton's not getting any younger, so he just wants to see what he has immediately. But when Zach goes out there and faces the Arizona Cardinals, and he's throwing passes in the fourth quarter of the last preseason game with literal third, fourth, and fifth stringers out there, and people are starting to say it's something ripping the Jets because of this one game in preseason. My God, John, give me a break.
They say what and all you hear is he has a fantastic arm. He has a fantastic arm. I say, yeah, we all know he has a great arm, but it didn't help him with the Jets.
Right. Well, and again,
Maybe it helped him getting his future wife. He did a good job on that at least.
well, were you shocked about that? I mean, Zach's a good-looking kid. He's making
He is.
money,
He
and
is. He
even
is.
he's made how many millions already? I wish him luck. I got nothing against him. He was he was overdrafted and into
Yep.
an organization that unfortunately constantly rushes guys into the league, and the results are the results, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
now that's why they've gone to the other complete polar opposite, bringing the ex MVP in. But for Jet fans, he's just another quarterback until he proves it on the field. I don't care that he won the MVP 3 or 4 years ago. Really, it's completely irrelevant. It really is.
He's as far as I'm concerned, until he proves something, how much can you talk about him? We've been talking about him for the good part of 2 years now,
Yep,
and
that's
we
it.
and we had what 4 plays to see him.
Hey,
So
we're ready, man. We're ready. I
we're
wish it was
ready. We're
tomorrow.
ready.
It's killing me that it's Monday night. We'll be on the air the next night after that. There's no doubt about it. Hopefully, we'll be smiling. Anything else from the NFL you wanted to get to?
No, no, I think we handled it pretty much.
All right, all right. So, where do you want to head? Is there any other winter sports things that you want to throw out there?
Well, there was a very funny thing. Uh, I actually saw it on YouTube where Stephen A. Smith was interviewing Magic Johnson, and he also interviewed Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards was in a different interview, and Anthony Edwards actually said that he didn't think any of the players in the 80s or 90s in basketball had any skills except for Michael Jordan. So Stephen A. Smith is now interviewing Magic Johnson, and you should have seen Magic Johnson's face when he heard what Anthony Edwards said. He goes, he basically said, "Why am I going to talk about someone who has never won a championship in high school, in college?" That's all he said. You should have seen. I mean, his face dropped, and he was angry. And when he started making those comments, you should have heard the audience reaction. They were laughing. They were laughing. He goes, "What are we going to talk about? A guy who's never won a championship?"
Well, Anthony Edwards has got a lot of talent. It's the old, yeah. It's there's an old saying that we won't even use anymore because it's so old. But John, I don't know why athletes go down that road because it's really just they embarrass themselves. Now, I could see if he was going back to like George Mikan or something, back in the 40s and saying that those guys back then weren't as talented, even though skill wise they were probably more talented. They just obviously athletically, things have changed a lot over the last 70 years. But yeah, I think Bird, Magic, yeah, those guys. Bill Russell, even further back. Oscar Robertson.
Uh,
I think they could hang with today's players. It is really funny, especially when you watch the modern NBA, which is just purely a pick and roll and 3-point shooting contests. Even though I guess we're seeing a little more low post come back. Oh, and actually, John, it's so funny thinking about that. Remember, I'd mentioned the Olympics and the French guy that
yes.
he signed, right? He signed. Again, I should get his name because I still don't have it right, but I can't. Do you remember where he signed?
No, no.
Okay, so he did sign with somebody. He didn't get a huge deal at all. And yeah, no, I
It's
can't.
probably a developmental. It's probably a developmental contract where he's like in the G League or something.
Now he's older. He can play. This guy can play. He's got
No, no,
a
but they try to hide them in like the G League until they could get roster space for them or something.
Nah, I don't know. It's so funny. I should look it up because he's got a unique first and last name, and it came into my head, and this is how, folks, just so you know, we don't rehearse our show, so sometimes things will just pop into our heads, and like, oh, I guess I should have looked up the Frenchman's, information before. Yeah, so yeah, look up French guy from Olympics signs with NBA team. So the Google algorithm will figure that out in a heartbeat. And if you can pronounce his name, I give you a lot of credit. And yeah, I'll keep talking, I guess, until you find him, John. So not
Well,
much. Yeah.
well, there was actually a great video of, and they actually, I don't know why it came up on YouTube, but it was something that someone brought out about Kobe Bryant. Someone saying that, oh, Kobe, you're better than Michael Jordan. And Kobe said, no, he goes, I modeled my entire game after Michael Jordan. And then they have a video of the moves that they were making. Kobe Bryant copied him exactly. If you look at the video, every single move that Michael Jordan, I never realized it.
Mhm.
Every single move that Michael Jordan ever made, Kobe Bryant was doing the same exact thing. Just amazing. It was like a replica, only a much taller guy.
Well, yeah. So yeah, no, but Jordan was more of a lockdown defender. I think that's like the one thing that you
Yes,
can
yes,
differentiate between
yes,
those two guys.
yes.
You're right. Offensively, very similar players. And here he is, John. I got him.
What is it?
Gershon Yabusele.
Okay.
Okay, and
What is it? The Spurs or some
no,
team
it's
like
so
that?
funny. It says here the Spurs did not sign him. So
Oh,
where did he sign? Okay, we got to find
because
out. I'm
because
sorry.
normally Spurs like the French players.
Right, that's what they're saying. But somebody's ripping them for not signing it, and why can't I could have sworn is he signed somewhere, but maybe I'm wrong. I could have sworn I read that. So that's it. I don't joining 76ers. He's going to be
Oh,
in the Heat,
great,
John.
great. Oh, that's all we need is the 76ers to get stronger.
All right. Well, I'm actually excited we talked about it because he deserved his props. I thought he looked good. Again, he's not a star player, John. Role player, but tough guy, good rebounder. Surprisingly, could shoot. I was shocked. But anyway, so yeah, signed with the 76ers. So we'll be seeing him on a regular basis. And actually, before you know it, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This season is coming up in a month and a half.
Right, right.
Month and a
Well,
half.
okay, cool. So yeah, nothing. College football has started. They had the game in Ireland. Florida State, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech with the big upset. But with the new 12-team playoff, that loss would have been devastating last year for Florida State. This year, not so much. You got a lot of time to make up for it. So college football getting into more of the swing on Labor Day weekend. There's actually a lot of games. And then, of course, joining the NFL the following weekend, the Thursday night game. Then they've got the Friday night game in Brazil this year that nobody will be watching, including us. So, John, as it's funny because, as always, for all the huge football fans, and when it's our favorite time of year. There's no other way of saying it. If you're a big sports guy, big football guy, you hate to see the summer go, but it's fall is just the best. It really is.
It's like Christmas Day in September.
Exactly, and we can't wait. So I think that's it. We got to get to the other, again, the sport that matters. So it's time, folks, for baseball with Bouk.
So I'm going to surprise you this week and actually start off with the New York Yankees.
Okay, what do you got?
What planet is Aaron Judge on? He is incredible. Just incredible. He's up to 52 home runs. I really hope, because I listen, I'm not a Yankee fan, but I respect good players. I don't care where they are. And he's the type of guy, he doesn't talk much, he just does his job. And sometimes the press holds it against him because he's not one to, he really doesn't like talking to the press or even about himself, to be honest. I mean, it was pretty funny that when he hit his second home run in a game last week, they were kind of like his teammates trying to push him out to take a curtain call. and it was so funny. The way he went out, I heard someone say, because I had thought it was almost like when Roger Maris, when he hit his 61st home run, that they actually had to push him out to take a curtain call. He was almost like the same exact way. It was pretty funny that people brought that up. But I would love for him to break Barry Bonds. You know what? I shouldn't even say it's a record because it's a little 73. Yeah, it's a little tainted. 73 home runs. I would really love for him to break that record. I would love it. And if he keeps up like this, if he keeps hitting a home run every game, he could break it. I mean, he's up to 52. It's
right.
amazing.
How many games? How many games left? Oh, still.
He has, I believe, 29 or 30 left.
Okay. All right.
He's on a roll. He's on a roll. And so's Soto. Soto's having a tremendous. I mean, he is going to get paid. He is going to get paid. At the end of this year, 25 years old.
Back up the truck. The Yankees are going to re-sign him. Met fans, stop your dreaming. It's not happening. It's going to be the Yankees or it can't be the Dodgers after the Ohtani. I can't even imagine the Dodgers still being in it. So the Yankees cannot lose him, especially if they actually have a good ending to their season. So what is I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure even where are they landing right now with the Orioles. So they're ahead, I believe.
The
right?
Yankees are 2 games ahead of the Orioles.
Okay. All right.
2 games. Okay. And they've been playing cream puff teams like the Rockies. I mean, they actually lost a game to the Rockies. But their pitching has been good. This was a funny story. So if you remember Michael Tonkin that the Mets released and the Yankees picked up, he actually did very well for the Yankees. Ends up that they used him so much that they really needed another relief pitcher on their roster. So they decided to just DFA him. They were going to release him to get Phil Bickford from another Met retread from the minors. And I'm like, what are you doing? Tonkin actually did very well for them. DFA'd him. Just crazy
John,
stuff.
I can't even tell you. That guy has gotten so much play on the Bouk and Zoobie show. It's beyond belief. You got a secret love affair with this guy, claiming he's my guy. I couldn't. If I saw him walk next to me, I wouldn't know who he is. I think I've seen him pitch once with the Yankees.
Yeah, and we
so maybe the
him.
Mets, John, can pick him up. So what is our pitcher count? Have the Mets gone above the 37. This is like, this talk about a pennant race, John. I think this is it. What team will have the most pitchers?
Yeah, well, it's still at 37, but
Still, has
yeah,
anybody
but
caught them?
no, they have not yet. No, they have
No.
not.
Oh,
But
September.
I want to, just for fun here,
Yes.
I would like to and you realize that so many of these people don't belong in the major leagues. I want to read you some names on those 37 pitchers. Julio Teheran, Jake Diekman. This is like, again, 37. Ottavino, Drew Smith, Edwin Diaz, Sean Manaea, Luis Severino, Quintana, McGill, Peterson, Scott, Hauser, Walker, Budo, Garrett, Alex Young, Dan Young, Blackburn, Reed Foley, Adcott, Brazaban, Gage, Senga, Stanek, Orze. That guy didn't even. It's so funny. This guy Orze, they were touting him as this great relief pitcher, and when the 2 times he's been brought up, he's gotten hammered. You don't hear about him anymore. Nunez, Jay, Lucchese, Matone, Raley, Festa, Lopez. Lopez has never. By the way, Lopez never got on another team again after he went ballistic and threw his glove in the stands.
I thought
No
somebody
one.
signed him. No one. I thought that
They minor league deal.
minor league deal. He's in the
Minor
minor.
league deal.
Okay. Okay.
Hartwig, Ramirez, Kranick, Sulcer, and Tonkin. Those are your 37 pitchers that the Mets have had. How many pitchers out of that list really deserve to be on a major league roster? I mean, I thought last year was bad. This year, wow.
It's
Wow.
crazy, John. Nobody's talked
Wow.
about it. Bouk and Zoobie exclusive on the amount of pitchers are being used by teams. I don't think I've heard anybody talk about that. So where do we're talking the Yankees? So to end the Yankees,
Yeah.
if you
Well,
had to say
actually,
today,
I have two more. I have two
But-
more things about the Yankees.
you have 2 more. I want but make it 3 because I want you to make your right now, August 27th. Are they going to the World Series? All right, go for it.
Yes,
Okay,
they will not win the World Series.
but you expect them to go. Okay, so what are your other 2 things?
Okay. Babe Ruth's jersey, the famous called home run during the 1932 home run World Series. If you remember Charlie Root, he says he pointed out to center field.
I don't remember, but yes.
I know. They actually tied this jersey to that game. They actually matched it up. It went for $24.1 million for that jersey. 24.1. Originally, the investor who bought it, I believe it was 2010, paid $9 million. Before that, it 990,000. It's just crazy with the memorabilia. I mean, $24 million for that jersey. Well, that person must have been some Yankee fan to buy that.
I don't know what to tell you.
The other crazy thing in Yankee land, and please, again, I'm not a Yankee fan, but, Monument Park, I think, is a very nice thing, what the Yankees do, retiring the numbers of the players. People could go out to center field and go see the monuments. Why am I hearing about Alex Rodriguez possibly being in Monument Park? Who's making this stuff up? That would be a complete insult to the Yankee organization, to the fans. Does anyone remember that not only was Rodriguez bad-mouthing the Yankee organization, that he was actually trying to sue Major League Baseball for even implying that he took steroids? Does anyone remember this? What is this, a complete makeover of Alex Rodriguez, that all of a sudden we're to forget that and by the way, he really didn't need to use steroids. He was a good player. He was an excellent, he didn't need to use it. He would have been a Hall of Famer. He will never get in the Hall of Fame because it's clear he lied about it several times. Why would you even consider putting him in Monument Park? That would be a complete insult. And again, I don't know why this keeps coming up, because it was the old timers game at Yankee Stadium, which, you know, they just announced the players. They don't play any game anymore at Yankee Stadium, but they're every year. They're consistent. The Mets, it looks like they're going to do it every several years. Joey Votto. I will get away from the Yankees now. Joey Votto finally decided to retire. He retired as a Red, even though he was trying to, through the minor leagues, get on the Blue Jays. He's a Canadian, and he was trying to finish off his career in Toronto. He finally retired. Excellent first baseman, great hitter, clutch hitter. Is he a Hall of Famer, Paul?
Votto, I mean, he's a compiler, right? So I don't know what his numbers are. I have to see what his numbers are. From the eye test in this era, yes.
Okay, interesting.
If Todd Helton's getting in, John, Joey Votto's getting in, right?
Yeah, and he was a very good defensive first baseman too.
Yes.
Well,
so, what do you think?
I think I'm thinking he's on the borderline.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's first ballot. I would definitely say no. But like I said, if Todd Helton's in it, how can Joey Votto not be in? But I would have to compare the numbers, though, to be honest.
Yeah, he's to me, he's borderline. He's right. Borderline, either or. So let's get to the Mets. There was something that I read in the paper that was very curious to me, and I'm thinking there might be some dissension somewhere on the team. So there was a quote by their hitting coach, Eric Chavez. They were speaking to him about Alvarez, and he made the quote that he's been trying to get Alvarez to hit to all fields. And as we know, and as we've spoken, and I even mentioned it, and then I saw that Chavez even, he must have been listening to Bouk and Zoobie, says he's been trying to pull the ball too much. He actually mentioned it. And he says it's hurting him. And he made the statement that I don't know who's he's listening to that's telling him to go and hit home runs to left field. He actually said that he implied that someone's been telling Alvarez that he should be swinging for home runs and hitting it to left field. Okay, who is Alvarez listening to now?
Well, you mentioned it last week.
Yeah, but you know what? But Beltran said that to hit to all fields.
No, I mean, right, but I'm saying why is Chavez talking about this post those comments? It seems like he thinks that Beltran's talking to the team a little bit. That's total speculation. So I do not.
I think you may be right, because when I was reading that, it was almost like he was annoyed that Alvarez has all these other voices and doesn't seem like he's even listening to him. And that's not good. That's not good. I mean, I don't mind having Beltran as an advisor. They have him as an advisor. But all of a sudden, he keeps speaking to all these guys.
Yep.
I mean, if they wanted someone to continually speak, I mean, Hernandez, I know, never wants to be a coach. He's always said he never wants to be a manager or a coach. But do you want these guys constantly going on the field and trying to give advice when someone else has the job of hitting coach? I don't know. It sounds like a little dissension there to me. And maybe they're confusing the kids, because this year I've been observing Alvarez. I have never seen him strike out so much on cold strikes. It's like he's standing there at the plate. Perfect pitches right down the middle of the plate, particularly strike three. So I think he's confused at the plate now. He's really, really confused. Hopefully, by me mentioning him, he'll go and hit 5 home runs this week and bang it. Because every time we mention someone Like Alonso all of a sudden is starting to hit. McNeil starting to hit. So I'm
That
going to
is true.
mention Alvarez, and hopefully he gets back on track.
And then Torrens is completely gone cold, right? So that miracle run for the 100 grand has hit a stone wall. So right,
But he's still good defensively. He's
right,
been
right. And
throwing
it
out.
does right, and he's only a backup, but
Right,
it is pretty
right.
funny. He was on fire. So what's your? I mean, the West Coast stuff. I lose track. So they're obviously not. They're playing tonight, though, right? So where are they playing? They play
Arizona.
Arizona, right?
Yeah,
So
they
what
have
more?
three with Arizona, and then
Okay,
3 with the Chicago White Sox.
okay, all
Now,
right.
quick question for you. Will the Chicago White Sox beat the Mets record for most losses?
Wow, they are really they're on that pace, right? They're on the pace as far as
They're
I
over
know, right?
100 losses already.
I will, I'm gonna say no, because what was it, 40 wins for the Mets? Was it what was the actual
Yeah,
number?
yeah, they actually didn't play 162 that year. It was
Because I yeah,
40 and 120.
okay, they only played 160 because of games that got rained out, and they're
Yeah.
obviously not scheduling them, right? So yeah, that's going to be a little tough because it's going to have to be a winning percentage situation because the White Sox will probably play 162. John, I mean, I thought they were. I don't know. It's I don't know, Chicago. I don't know what to tell you. Maybe the
They have
Bears
to,
will bail out Chicago. That's all I can tell you.
yeah, you don't want to be the team that loses a series to them. That I'm trying to remember what year it was, but the Detroit Tigers, I always remember this, had 119 losses. They were ready to tie the Mets record, and they went on like a 5 or 6 game winning streak at the end of the year to avoid that. And
That's what
when
I'm almost
they,
thinking. Yeah, it's going to be like mercy games if the White Sox play a team who's out of it. I don't know what the schedule is. Obviously, I'll say no, but John. It's when you're in that depth. I mean, it's really unbelievable how far they've gone. Ever since they rebuilt that crappy stadium they have there in Kaminsky Park, they're second-class citizens in Chicago. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. So, but just in general, so that the Mets, I just looked at it. They're 3 on the loss column, John. They're down,
they're floundering right now. It's
and
they
yeah, it's. I mean, they can never beat that Musgrove guy. That's unbelievable. He just throws the glove out there, and the Mets are going to get no hit. Right? It's
yeah,
amazing. He's a good
yeah.
pitcher. Don't get me wrong, but they
But that
have to
last
win.
loss, but the last loss was very bad because
Right.
again, while I'm watching these games, my wife is sitting on the couch, whatever she's looking at on her iPad, and I was watching Budo warm up, and then I started seeing him throw his pitches, and I said to her, "We're in trouble here. We're going to lose this game." And it was at that time it was 2-0. And she goes, "What do you mean? The Mets are up 2?" I said, "He doesn't have it. His ball's not moving. Uh, it's not going to end well here." So, and what ends up happening, he hits the 2-run homer. Of course, I'm screaming
Gave up.
mad and
All right.
very upset. And once you lose that momentum, because that was in the 8th inning, that was really the time that they need to bring in Diaz. Go for the 5-out save there or the 4-out save. That's all they had to do. And then and Diaz never does well when it's in a non-save situation. He ended up giving up the
Yeah,
game-winning
gave up the
home
game
run.
winner. That's what I was going
So,
to say. Well, the thing is, John, the only thing there I'm not knocking what you're saying. It's just that Budo has been the guy that they've been putting in that spot, right? So,
but he was tired. Yeah.
well,
The funny thing was that Ron Darling, when I was saying it to my wife, it's so funny when I say these things. Sometimes they'll be repeated by the announcers. Ron Darling was even saying that his arm angle was lower, which usually means when it's lower that he's tired, that
right.
he has a
Okay.
tired arm.
Well,
So,
John,
and
they've been using him so much, right? And he was a
they've been
starting
using him a
pitcher.
lot.
He's a
Yes,
starting pitcher traditionally, right? And now he's been
yes.
used as a reliever. John, oh my God, how many times do we talk about this with the lack of length from the pitchers? I don't know what to say anymore about it. You're
And
relying on guys that are just not that good. I guess Nunez is coming back though, right? Is that
he
gonna,
is.
is
He
he
is.
back right now, or is he to be coming back?
They're gonna make a move very soon.
Okay,
Yes.
so for this,
Yeah.
hopefully for tonight on the.
I hope so because we
So is
need
it the
fresh.
old? It's the old 9:30 in Arizona, right? Isn't that what? Or 9:40 first
Yeah,
pitch Eastern.
9:40.
So
But
and you definitely stay up. I know you're staying up to the wee hours watching them, or you
I
fall asleep on the
actually have been
couch.
falling asleep, and somehow I wake up when it's the eighth or ninth inning, and then I have to watch it. But
Actually,
the
good
but the
strategy.
the funny thing is what they're doing in the major leagues this year is how when it used to be September 1, they used to let them go up to 40
Yeah, they
players
stopped
or
that last year.
unlimited. Now it's 28.
Yeah, there was
So now
last
they
year,
could
I think. Yeah, they
right.
started.
So now they could carry more pitchers without actually having to put them through waivers or use their options. So uh,
We're getting over
the,
40, John. We're getting over 40. Some way, some team's going to get over 40 with the September call-ups. Maybe not the Mets. Maybe not the Mets because they just might bring the same guys up, right? They don't obviously count.
right.
It's got to be a
They're
new
going to
group.
bring up McGill. They'll bring up McGill
Right.
again.
So it's a little tough to get over 40, which is it's just really kind of funny. So the Mets hanging on. It's going to be rough, John. If they're like that
I
first
don't
game
know.
out, it's going to be
I don't
rough.
think they're gonna. I don't think they're gonna make the playoffs.
You don't. All right. So you got
No,
the
no.
Yankees in the World Series, the Mets on the outside looking in. You're
They
really
don't look.
hoping you're wrong.
I hope I'm wrong, but they look like they've been playing 500 since the All Star break, and they actually look like they're running out of gas now. They look like they're running out of gas.
Well, I'll tell you,
Oh,
Lindor's had a great season, so kudos
oh,
for him. We gave him a
oh.
hard time in the beginning of the year, and he's really played pretty much. I mean, slow start, but been really good since May. Actually, ever since he put him in the one hole, right, like early June. So great job by him. Got to give him kudos. Has Nimmo gotten anything going, or is he still floundering?
Floundering.
Ugh,
It's really unfortunate. He has done since the All Star break. I believe he has 6 RBIs. He's
wow.
been, yeah, and they've actually taken him out of the second spot. They've been having him move all over the lineup now. He's
Yeah,
batting 225 or 226.
yeah.
That's and you talk about someone who usually had a very good eye. He's been swinging at very bad pitches all year long. I think he fell in love with getting a little bit of power, and everyone was saying, "Oh, Nimmo's going to get 100 RBIs." I'm like, "Yeah, let's not get ahead of ourselves here, okay?" He had a great up to the All Star game. He was doing fine, but to say that he's a shoo in for 100 RBIs, no, he wasn't. He wasn't. He's never going to be a 100 RBI guy, and he's never going to be a 30 home run guy. So I think he needs to get back to what he was good at, is getting on base, and he really hasn't been doing that this year. So,
All right.
and Pete's 27 home runs. He's happy. I don't know. Is he happy having all these singles all over the place? Is he happy? I mean, it's ironic that after we were bashing him that he was doing terribly with runners on base, we were laughing about it. That all of a
Right.
sudden, a couple of games, he started driving in runs with runners on base. So
Yeah, he was
anyway,
4 for 4 like that first night. So you're giving motivation to the team. That's good. Budo's the next guy. Hopefully he'll come back. You're right. I mean, it's just it would be
and
tough,
we'll
John. It would be
and one
tough.
last
Yes,
thing,
sir. Yes.
and then we'll get to our rant. I was reading about player speed running to first base.
Okay.
And I'm saying to myself, because as you remember, I was a pretty fast guy, uh, running around the bases. And I actually have been timed many times, and I know exactly, what I did in high school. And so, what do you think is the average time running to first base? I was a little shocked, to be honest.
I have no idea. 4 seconds? I have no idea. How long does it take to get to first base? Five
For
seconds?
the
No.
a right-handed hitter,
Okay.
4.3 seconds.
4.3.
Left-handed hitter, 4.2. The person who's fastest to first base, I'm still shocked because it's between Cruz and Bobby Witt Jr. They were very close. They're very speedy guys.
Okay.
It was 4.1. And I'm saying to myself, that's not that fast. That's not that fast. When you had guys like Vince Coleman, Ricky Henderson, these guys
We're in the
were
threes, right?
usually mid
Yeah.
threes.
Yeah.
I remember when they were timing me going to first base, I was 3.6 constantly, and they kept saying, no, that can't be so. And kept retiming me. Sometimes 3.7, 3 points. And Bobby Witt is the fastest guy in the major leagues at 4.1. I said that to me, I'm sorry. When I see these guys running, guys like Alonso, it looks like he's running with a piano on his back. The way
Well,
he tries to round third, and I'm like, is he
John,
moving at all?
John, you just compared your speed to Vince Coleman. So I mean, we may have to go back and check the timers of Coach Turk, I think his name was. Or it was
They
Mr.
kept, by
Cool.
the way, they kept making me run it.
You were fast. I would admit you were
They kept
fast,
making me run it.
but you put yourself in like Vince Coleman category. I
I
think
thought
you
I
could
was
be
faster.
fast.
To be honest, I thought I was faster than him at the time.
Okay. All right, folks.
So.
On that note,
Anyway,
we're definitely ready now.
We are ready for the rant of Paul Zubulake. After we've been busy bragging about ourselves, our historic history in high school. Go ahead.
John, that's a classic. So John was he was a little jealous, folks, because I had said that the rant was going to be a little patting on my back. So John had to pull out the Vince Coleman comparison. So I'm as absurd as John's comparison was to Vince Coleman. My comparison is to Hall of Fame coach Bill Belichick. This past week, today is, I guess maybe it might have been yesterday, Bill Belichick was on the McAfee show, and they were talking about the new kickoff rules. So I know Bill's retired. I know he's got the young girlfriend, but I still think Bill's a little bored. So he must have stumbled upon last week's Bouk and Zoobie show when I said that with the new kickoff rules, we're going to see a lot of touchbacks. And if they want to change the rules, why don't they just go back to kicking off from the 30? And John, Bill Belichick, verbatim, had the same exact opinion as me.
Wow.
So we're going to end the show this week with Bouk and Zoobie being compared to Vince Coleman and Bill Belichick. So I really do appreciate people, if they're still listening now, because we might have to check the data where people started disconnecting immediately when we started making these comparisons. But that is the rant of the week.
Oh, boy. Actually, it was and I thought you were going to speak about that when you mentioned Bill Belichick. But yeah, that is pretty amazing that he said it word for word, what you said on the show. It's amazing. That was pretty funny. Yeah.
You did see it. Okay, good.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, folks. Who do you want to thank, John? Before, just one last reminder. Next week we'll be taping on Wednesday, dropping Thursday, NFL preview with the great Father K.
Yep. And we're looking forward to it, and we'll be ready for him with his Dolphin comments. Again, as always, thank you to our producer, Zach Zubulake, and to our loyal listeners. If you want to give us feedback, comments, please put it on YouTube. We'd love to see it and respond to it. Also, thank you to our community partners, Ronald McDonald House, Kids in Seats, and the Jackie Robinson Foundation. See you next week.